sanctions. And the bombing continued. People think that the bombing stopped with the 1991 Gulf War and started again in 2003. They have been bombing in the no-fly zone of Iraq ever since. This is 1999. A little child pulled out of the rubble after an American bombing, and her sister was also killed in this bombing. Again and again, civilians have been picked off in the no-fly zone by these crazed people in planes playing computer games ever since. But the sanctions were absolutely fantastic. Some look-away pictures now. What actually happened in the 1991 Gulf War is they dropped so many bombs with depleted uranium that the leukemia figures in Iraq absolutely soared in the years since. In the last conflict in 2003, they dropped far enormously more depleted uranium bombs than they did in 91. God knows what the future is going to be in that state. But there are also babies, more and more being born in Iraq with horrendous deformities because of the depleted uranium in the bombs that these crackpots are dropping. And here's just some of them. How many more are going to be born as a result of the bombardment of depleted uranium in the last few months? During the period of the sanctions, which of course immediately they take Iraq over. We want the sanctions dropped now. All right. Get the oil out. By 1995, more than 1 million Iraqis have died, 567,000 of them children, as a direct consequence of economic sanctions. As many as 12% of the children surveyed in Baghdad are wasted, 28% stunted, and 29% underweight. The UN, December 1995. Are you watching, America? Go on, John, go get them. More than 4,500 children under the age of 5 are dying each month from hunger and disease. UNICEF, October 1996, as a result of the sanctions. CBS 60 Minutes program. Leslie Saul, the interviewer, talking to Madeleine Albright, the then Secretary of State. We have heard that 500,000 children have died as a result of sanctions against Iraq. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And you know, what is the price worth it? Madeleine Albright, I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it. Well, what did it achieve? They announced in the end, officially, it achieved bugger all because they have to go and bomb them again. God bless America, land that I love. Let's blow the frigging world into the sky above. Go on, John, go get 'em. John Wayne, hey, good guy. No need for prophecy, Nostradamus, for what has unfolded in the last few months and is planned to unfold in the months to come unless we wake up. In the late 90s, an organization was formed in America called the Project for the New American Century. It was produced, and they produced a report in September 2000 that was a blueprint for the Bush administration that was planned to be scammed into power in the months that followed. These are the people who were behind the Project for the New American Century and this blueprint report. Dick Cheney, who then became vice president, more likely president. Donald Rumsfeld, defense secretary. Paul Wolfowitz, deputy defense secretary, with more power than him in truth. You usually find the real powers with the deputy, not quite as up front as the others. Also behind the Project for the New American Century and its connecting organization, the American Enterprise Institute, Michael Ledeen, infamously involved in far-right organizations in Italy at the time of the notorious P2 Freemasonry Lodge, when its head, the Mussolini fascist Licio Gelli, was exposed and eventually jailed for controlling the society of Italy, its government, its business, its banking, including the Vatican Bank, through the P2 Freemasonry Lodge that connected into Henry Kissinger, another associate of Michael Ledeen. Richard Pearl, he's on the Defense Policy Board of the Pentagon, who advises the Pentagon on policy. What do you advise, Richard? I advise to invade Iraq. Oh. American Enterprise Institute, known as the godfather of the neocons, the neoconservatives. I think I have another phrase for them. Woolsey, who is the head of, or was the head of the CIA in the 90s. He's on the Defense Policy Board with him, deciding Pentagon policy. He's a big mate of Shalabi, the guy that they want to be involved in the new government of Iraq. Douglas Feith, who is actually in a major policy-making position in the Pentagon and decides who goes on the Pentagon Policy Board. Jeb Bush, the brother of George Bush, governor for Florida at the time of the scammed Florida vote. And William Crystal, chairman of the New American Century, or the Project for the New American Century organization that produced this report. And he is a pundit who goes on to fix news in America to project and promote this policy. So what did this report say? September 2000. The United States has for decades sought to play a more permanent role in Gulf regional security. While the unresolved conflict with Iraq provides the immediate justification, the need for a substantial American force presence in the Gulf transcends the issue of the regime of Saddam Hussein. So the immediate justification to go into the Middle East and start this going is Saddam Hussein and Iraq. This is before they even came to power. It calls for a blueprint for maintaining global U.S. preeminence and shaping the international security order in line with America's principles and interests. In other words, the Illuminati, who were using America as the vehicle. This American grand strategy, it said, must be advanced as far into the future as possible, and the U.S. must fight and decisively win multiple, simultaneous, major theater wars as a core mission. That's what they're planning to do. In September 2000, it calls the American Armed Forces the cavalry on the new American frontier. And it says that key allies like the United Kingdom are the most effective and efficient means of exercising American global leadership. Exactly what they've done since they came to power. Used Britain and Blair to do that. It says that peacekeeping missions demand American political leadership rather than that of the United Nations, precisely what they've done. And, hey, we have the axis of evil. It highlights North Korea, Syria, Iran, and Libya as dangerous regimes and says their existence justifies the creation of a worldwide command and control system, World Army. The very nations that have been mentioned since. The axis of evil speech and that phrase was written for Bush by David Frum of the American Enterprise Institute, same organization. It also says it spotlights China for regime change, says it's time for the presence of American forces in Southeast Asia. This could lead to American and Allied power providing the spur to the process of democratization in China. Can you imagine what that would mean? And what did Paul Wolfowitz announce this week? More troops going into Asia, American troops. We're actually seeing this unfold in front of our eyes. In The Biggest Secret, 1998, the plan is to engineer events, real and staged, that will create enormous fear in the countdown to 2012. This includes a plan to start a third world war, either by stimulating the Muslim world into a holy war against the West, or by using China to cause global conflict, maybe both. How did I know that? Because people on the inside of this told me that's what the game was. Many of them over the years of the 90s. What else does it say? Because what it says is what they're planning to do. It calls for the creation of U.S. space forces to dominate space and total control of cyberspace to prevent their enemies, i.e. anyone that's challenging the agenda, using the internet. It talks, are we talking Nazis or fascism or what? It talks of developing biological weapons that can target specific genotypes. This may transform biological warfare from the realm of terror to a politically useful tool. What else did it say? It said that this project, this blueprint of conquest, would necessarily be slow to unfold unless America had a new Pearl Harbor. In its words, Their process of transformation is likely to be a long one, absent some catastrophic and